Hello all, we are here for the lesson number 38 of this VariCAD training course, and this lesson is called parameters. This is something that can only be used on the 3D environment. It is not available on the 2D side. We have other commands to work on the 2D, but not the parameters. I want to show you the concept. I will make a couple of examples, not very difficult examples, but to show how to deal with parameters inside the part environment, the 3D environment. So we have at least two ways how we can approach this subject. The first one, it is to go into parameters or menu edit, the same, define a couple of parameters, and for that purpose we have these functions here on top. As you see, new parameters, change parameter value, delete a parameter, or rename it. So it's quite easy and not very confusing. So I will create a new parameter, a new dialog box open. So I will give it a name. In this case I can call it, for example, length, and I will give value 100. Create a new parameter and insert it. Okay, new parameter, again I can give it another name, width, I can give, for example, 60, create, insert, and new, I can give it height, and for example 20. Okay, create and insert. All of these are angular type. I have other types, but for now I will use just these ones. Okay, so I have 3 parameters created. I give it some values. To see these issues here, I can click in one and change here, or when I click on top of the line I have the same options. So change, and I open this dialog box again, and I'm able to give a new value to this. The same if I do the delete, it will delete it from here, or rename parameter, and again I have this possibility on the same dialog box. So just to understand this part, so I will not make anything of this, just consider these 3 parameters done. So now I will make a very basic solid, a box, and the box I can introduce the values on this dialog box with the values, or if I click on the arrows I can go to define parameter and say, in this case, height. I can say, in this case, I could give another other names, but I've used this so that we use the same terminology. And in this case, defined and length. So it is done. Do the OK and do the OK again. So I've created a basic box, and the values, instead of saying for the 3 axes of this box a value, I've told the system consider a value inside the parameter table. So it built my solid. Now imagine that I want to edit this solid, and this is the first difference. If I choose the solid, now you see, even that is on a very similar color, you see that besides the measure, the value, you have the name of the parameter that is in each one of these dimensions. So again, if I click this, you see I can edit this. Okay, I can go here and say another value. So the first level, how I can work with the parameters, it is to go, well, whenever I want, go into the parameter table and say, for example, length, and change it and give another value, for example 120, apply changes, and you see that this was rebuilt. Okay, this is the first way. I can have a couple of things here and use it as I want. I could use this change because I have, in this particular case, I use the length, it is this dimension here. I was in my parameter table. I just click on this, change, and directly change the value. But I could work with this on a different way. For example, create a new parameter, call it length A, or for example, just to be shorter, L1, say 150, create and insert. And now if I do the edit, the solid, I could click in my length and say I don't want this, I want a defined parameter, and in this case I am the L1, and you see, okay, rebuild it. Okay, it was another way to work with this. We have, before I show you the second way, I'd like to introduce you like this, a new parameter, and I have this possibility here with the type of parameter. I have three types: linear, angular. These two are possible to, the way how to work with all of them, it is the same, to create a name and to give it a value. But in these two particular cases, linear or angular, we can work a little more deep because we can create mathematical relation between the assigned parameters and to work around this to make our 3D model parameterized and change according to what we want. On the thread it is a little more static, okay, so it's a little different. My idea now is to create something a little different. I will create, even that is a basic solid, but I will start from scratch. I will create some basic parameters, and to do that, just new parameter. I will use, for example, the A, and I will say 100, create it. I will make a new one that I can call, it's for thickness, so I will use TK1, and I will give, for example, 1. I can create a new, because I want to show you a couple of ways, TK2, and I will use the value 2, and basically it's like it. So I will use this TK1, TK2 for the thickness, and I will use only this A parameter. So now I will create my box again, and I can create, I can go a little deeper, and I can create relations. For example, with the height, I will consider as my length, it is the A value, so I will say defined parameter is the A value. On the width, I will say I want a defined parameter, but I want it not as equal to A, but split it by 2. And on the height, I want it, I can write it directly here, divided by 5. So it is done, no big issues. And now I can do something similar to what I've done. I will create first some fillets. So on top of this, and I will create also on the sides, very basic solid. We've seen already a couple of examples here with this. And I want to say that I want to use also the A split by 20. So in this case A was 100, so the split by 20 is 5 mil. So okay, and it is done. Now I want to do the thickness, and for that purpose saying this, and the thickness can be, for example, defined per meter tk1. Okay, it is done. Okay, so what I have built now, it is a very basic model where all my dimensions are parameterized according to a parameter A, and all the dimensions are functions of that parameter. So what it happens now is that if I go to my parameter table, for example, the thickness is assigned to the tk1 variable. I can go here and say tk2. Sorry, in this case we have a different value. I could go edit this solid, edit the shell thickness, and I have the tk1. I don't want it. I want to the tk2, and okay, you see that it's already a little different, and rebuild it. Very easy and instantly. And I can go a little deeper, which is parameter table. Everything is in function of this parameter A, so change value. For example, I will make a part that is double the size of this, and we have many cases in real life where you have parts which are family from each other. So family is when we have similar or equal parts and different sizes. Okay, so the A I will give 200, for example. Do the OK, apply changes, and you see that the complete everything, the complete part was rebuilt, because you see even this, it was 5 mil now because it was a function of the A. Now it is 10. For example, this guy here, so 200, this was a function divided by 2 or divided by 5. So everything is function of the A. We can introduce also another parameter, for example, a B, and you can call it, for example, 10. So example it is, we can say that edit this guy, okay, and for example this guy here, it is imagine that is A plus B. Okay, and do the OK, rebuild it, and it is done. Okay, so this is to show you that we can work this in many ways. This is very powerful. For sure, this is a very easy example, but the intention of this little example is to make you understand how you can parameterize your 3D part. And even if you have this parameterization done for a single part, we will see in one of the next lessons we can create constraints on assembly or in one sub-assembly, which the constraints are relations between parts. And if we have those relations done, and on the other hand, before we have the parameters done for one part. So if you change the parameters, the part will change and the constraints will affect the surrounding parts you have on the assembly also. So this is to tell you that VariCAD, it is a system that is on that perspective, and if it is planned and if you do work with a little knowledge and with method, you can have everything parameterized, which is a very powerful tool. So I hope this is clear, and I hope to see you on the next lesson of this VariCAD training.